well, 626, some people call him that, but you might know him better as? Oh, you guys are too ready for this. Okay, I like to find the center of my page. That teeny little belly button right there in that paper is the center of my page, and we're going to start out by drawing a rainbow, a tall rainbow right here, very lightly. And I like to lock my wrist and elbow and just bounce my shoulder back and forth. You get some pretty smooth lines when you do it this way. And I'm very lightly going to go back and forth about 7 or 8 times because I'm like you. I cannot draw perfect circles, rainbows, squares, or nothing. So I'll make several that I can pick and choose the good lines from, and I'll just let the other stuff fade into the background. Now the bottom, we're going to put a straight line going from one end to the other, just like this, again, as lightly as possible. And then underneath that line, we're going to put a little curve that goes from one end to the other of that same rainbow, like this. Kind of a boat shape down there. All right. Now guidelines, actually this turns out to be a guideline, and we need to put another guideline going straight through the middle. And moms and dads, help the kids out with this if you need to. Sometimes it's hard for them to find the middle of things or 3/4 of the way up. So be there for them. Trust me, you will feel much better if you do. You see it all the time. Okay, now that we've got that all in place, this is the basic structure of his head. We'll be getting to his ears in a little while, and let's go ahead and draw in his nose first of all. Now, if I was going to go halfway between here and there, that would be right about there, but I want to go ever so slightly lower than that halfway point, and this is going to be the top of Stitch's nose. It is like a triangle, but a very curved one. Curved on the top, curved on the side. You can see where I ended up right here. And then curved on this side, and even curved on the corners too. That looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to lock that in. That is going to be a permanent part of my drawing of old 626. This popular character. My gosh, he just turned 21 a couple weeks ago. Can you believe Stitch is old enough to drink? That is a scary thought. Just drinking coffee the way that we see him doing in the movie is just enough to get him going. Okay, let's go ahead and give him some nostrils right here towards the bottom half of that nose. I'm going to draw these little curves right here and right here. And I'll shade them in to give them a little bit of depth. And we're ready to draw in his smile. He's got the Mona Lisa smile. It's going to start right here, about that far from that corner. And about that far from that corner, this is where I'm going to start. This is where I'm going to head to as I curve down and bring it across this way. This is the kind of smile you look at him and you go, he's thinking about something. I don't know if I should be worried or not. Kind of a smile. Let's go ahead and lock that on in now. That looks pretty good. He also has one of those little lines like a cat or a dog does right under his nose, so I'll define that as well. And that smile is just big enough to be pushing up his cheeks. And so at the top corners of his smile, we're going to give him these little single line rainbows that we call smile lines to show that it's pushing his cheeks up a little bit there. Also, another little curved line right dead center underneath his smile, right here for a chin. And we need to put some more single line rainbows over his nose. Now what these are snout lines, and snout lines just show that his nose is coming towards us a little bit. Kind of creates an optical illusion. Okay, Mickey Mouse, he would only have one of those. Pluto, a hound dog, would have 3 of those because he's got a really long snout. Now, we're going to be drawing in a character mask. A character mask is this thing that goes around Mickey's eyes. It adds more color, more interest to his face. It also frames his eyes. This guy's got it, and look at that. Even this guy's got it. Character mask goes way back to the early days of animation. As you can see, Mickey Mouse has always had that. It's a little curve going from his nose to the side of his face like this. And then it's going to come up this way pretty high, and it's going to curve back down, so you end up with a big dinosaur egg right here. Okay, let's do that over here too. All right. This film was the idea of a very talented animator, director, writer named Chris Sanders. By the way, Chris was also the voice of Stitch. There we are. But you know, I love, when I'm drawing classic Disney characters like this one, to talk about the wonderful people that have been voices of these characters. And one of my all-time Disney voice heroes is in this film. His name was David Ogden Stiers. He is no longer with us. But if you're old like me, you may remember a TV show called MASH. And on that show, there was a great actor, David Ogden Stiers, and he played a character that was very snooty named Charles Winchester III. Well, the folks at Disney thought, that's a great voice. Let's hire him to be the voice of this little snooty clock in Beauty and the Beast. Cogsworth, that was David Ogden Stiers, but that was just the beginning for that man. He ended up doing a lot of voices for Disney. I'll tell you about some more of them, but let's get his eyes into place. Big circles right here, kind of up against that side of the character mask, and down this side, of course, closer to that side of the character mask. But I want to give it a more animal-like look, so next to his nose, I'm going to kind of bring a little point out, like that. And that'll make him look a little more like something of nature, although he is about as unnatural as you can get. But you don't just end up with circular, cartoony kind of eyes. It looks like something you might actually see. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and lock in those almond shapes. And on this side as well. So, getting back to Mr. Stiers, after he did the voice of Cogsworth, the folks at Disney were so delighted with this performance, they said, you know, we're working on a new movie called Pocahontas, and you would be perfect for the evil Governor Ratcliffe in that film. And he got to sing in that one. He's also Ratcliffe's weird little assistant, Wiggins, in that film. He does both voices. Let's go ahead and put a glimmer in each eye by just putting a circle right up here, okay? After doing Ratcliffe and Wiggins, then he had a very small part in The Hunchback of Notre Dame as the archdeacon who pops out of the church just in time to stop Frollo from doing something horrible. He goes, stop, right? Anyway, that was David Ogden Stiers, and then he had a small part in Atlantis, the Lost Empire as Mr. Harcourt, another snooty character who ran the museum that Milo worked for. There we go. Darkening in those eyes. Make them as dark as you can. And look at those little circles at the top of the eyes. That just makes them look alive to me. All right. David Ogden Stiers is no longer with us, but his contributions to Disney animation are just, man, immeasurable. Let's go ahead and draw a little brow over each eye, or character mask, I should say. Let's go ahead and do one over here too. Just a little inward curve coming from the side of his face, just out over it. Okay, and then he's got a cool little hairdo that go right up to the top. Shark fin over here, mama shark, and baby shark, just like that. All right, and I'll lock in that little space over there on that side, and we'll lock in his cheeks, and we'll lock in the bottom of his face, and we've got just a couple more things to draw. Anybody know what they are? Ears. His ears, right, because Dr. Chikiba gave him these supersonic ears so that he could hear trouble coming from far, far away. Now, when Pleakley and Dr. Chikiba are chasing down Stitch, those ears kind of work against them as he hears them coming. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get them in place. Now we started out with something that looked like a big fat taco shell for the shape of his head. We're going to do two thin taco shells coming up the side. I'm going to start right here where his character mask meets his face, which is right here and right here. And let's see, about this high over his head, very light line. I want to keep these even Steven here. So just above that shark fin, I'm going to put that line there, and then I'm going to bring up a diagonal line from there to that line. From here to that line are those, yep, this one's leading out. That's a little bit better, I think. You want them to be kind of at the same angle or as close to it as you can get. and then a thinner taco shell. Now remember this line right here at the bottom, if you can still see that, that's what we're going to aim for as we curve and down to it. These are much thinner tacos than the one we started with. Let's do it over here too. There we go. Not locked in, just light and loose for the moment. Okay, now it gets a little bit tricky, so pay attention, everybody. See the bottom of the taco shell right here? I'm going to go just above it, just right there, just above it over here. And I'm going to curve inward until I get about halfway up to there. That's about halfway. And then I'm going to curve outward until I get to the top. So this is like a big outstretched S curve, which stands for 626, or stitch, to be precise. This, if you give that a little curve, that looks like a fold in the back of his ear. And as we bring this back down, I'm going to lock it in. And when I get a little bit past the halfway point, I'd say right about there, he's missing pieces of his ear here. Okay, there's a little pizza pie wedged cut in his ear. And I'll bring it back down the rest of the way. And since I've got this little gap, I'm going to add another little curve for another little fold in his ear there. I don't know how he lost these pieces of his ear. He's missing one over here too. We'll get to it in a second. We're ready to go over here now and do the same thing backwards, okay? So starting right there, I'm going to curve inward up to about that halfway point, and then outward until I get to the top. This one always looks thinner than that one. Okay, I'm going to build it up just a little bit since it's, yep, that looks a little bit better. Backwards letter S in this case. Let's go ahead and get that locked on in. There we go. You know, when you're working on a Disney animated film, if you're on the production team, the director, the producer, some of the people that are at kind of the top of the food chain there, they'll send you to wherever your story takes place. So in this case, of course, these guys got to go to Hawaii to do a great research trip making this film. And it turned out that way, we believe, because Chris Sanders originally set the film in Kansas, and then when he heard about the trip, he said, "Oh no, it takes place in Hawaii." I'm kind of fudging on the truth a little bit there, but we suspect, because he did want it to be in Kansas originally, I think he might have just got wind of the trip and changed his mind. But it works out really wonderfully well. One of the things that I really love about the Hawaiian location is the music. And not only the Hawaiian music, but they use Elvis too. And that's because Elvis was very, very popular in Hawaii. You guys are too young to remember when Elvis was in his heyday. He was real popular and did some wonderful stuff in Hawaii. He made 3 movies there. So using Elvis was a stroke of genius. Well, you know what? That's pretty much it for old 626. How did you all do? Kind of all over the place there. Well, let's have a really quick art show, shall we? I'll count to 3. Then everybody hold up your drawings. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Show me Stitch. Nice dark lines, I see. Good job, man. Good job. He looks like an Elvis fan. Yeah, I can see that. Oh, wow. Really good. Why are you guys being so quiet? When I ask how you did, these look absolutely fantastic. That's so big. I love that you drew so big. That's a really good use of that enormous piece of that one too. Tremendous. You guys went big. Great job. Hey, give yourselves a great big round of applause.